Likkutei Torah, Parshas Acharei, page Chavav, in the middle of the second column. A little bit above midway in the second column. Okay, so the Alter Rebbe is explaining the food is Torah, Tefillah, Tzedakah, Machshava, Dibur, Ma'aseh, Bri, Yitzir, Asiyah. That has to keep a lukus down, that's the keli. So he says, but just like a fire can only consume it when the fuel becomes consumed in the fire, so the same thing, if there's no bittul from the person's part, so then he's not being consumed by godliness. If he's not being consumed by godliness, so then it's not going to work. So he says, Hine aidei gimel dvarim elu. Through these three things, shemamshichim behem erevayim, that you bring down godliness through Torah, Tefillah, Tzedakah, av shenesabish bedvarim gashmi seichel anushi. Even though l'cha'ira, this level of elokus that we're bringing down godliness with is l'cha'ira all in physical things, physical brain, physical object. He says, Alzen naman concerning this, the pasuk says, Ani kivrei shiranan. Basically, reish shirana means a slingshot. It's the simple meaning of it. What does it mean, a slingshot? Period, but is dak, is a thin piece of wood. You can bend it down. Then when you let go, when it goes back, it elevates the thing that's on it, because it flies really high. And the more you bend it back, the higher it flies. So the same thing here. Dafke Gashmias, Galukus coming into Gashmias, that's why Hashem says I'm like a slingshot. The more you pull me down, the higher the things fly. Okay, so Hashem says, Ani usheneslabish b'maisa tachtein kivrei shranot. So Hashem says, I am like the thing in the slingshot. Meaning, by bending down kaviyachol, Hashem, by bringing Hashem into gashmistic things, it becomes elevated level after level. Then his life becomes bound up in the bond of life. As mamish together with Hashem. Okay, so bottom line, he says this is the level of elukus that comes into gashmistic things. So the whole Maimed Alter Rebbe is explaining this concept of eish eichlo. Yeah, okay, fire consumes. You need the fuel in order to have the fire here. Okay, so you need the fuel. The fuel is Torah, Chassidus, Torah, Tefillah, and Tzedakah. And therefore, this is. But the only time the fuel becomes consumed is with the level of bittul. That's basically what he's explaining. Just like in Kedusha, Hashem has this level, the same thing, he made it in evil also. Keneged eish eichlo. There's eish zada, keneged eish eichlo. Just like there's a consuming godly fire, eish eichlo, so the same way, there's a foreign fire of klipa, of enthusiasm of evil. It also comes into thought, speech, and action. Disgrace, the opposite of honor. In other words, Torah mitzvahs brings glory to the person, and everything else brings disgrace to the person. Like it says, Chacham will inherit honor, and the evil people, the fools, will have a lot of disgrace. Just like through doing good, the neshama is able to become elevated greater than the neshama is without it. The neshama without Torah mitzvahs doesn't go anywhere. So just like a neshama becomes elevated by doing Torah mitzvahs, more kasher tuchel an nefesh eis. Through doing Torah mitzvahs, the neshama is able to elevate itself to a place that the neshama on its own can't elevate. The same thing in evil, through doing evil, the neshama can disgrace itself to a place that the neshama can't do on its own. What does it mean yikla'enu? It'll come to teich kafakela hanu klila merachik ma'ed me'er p'nei Hashem. One of the additional punishments in Yenevelt, in the next world, besides Gehenim, is kafakela. What's kafakela? Literally means they throw the neshama from one end of the world to the next. I mean, that's the simple, obviously it's not what it means, but that's the simple meaning of it. In a wrong way. Like it says, kafakela. Hashem says, not only will I cover myself, I'll ask the double concealment. Okay. So what's the eitzah to undo the negativity of the slingshot? He says, that's tshuva. Especially in Aseret Yimei Tshuva. That then is the appropriate time, the opportune time for anybody that wants the yeshiva mel mekredem to return to Hashem. Then his soul will be pouring with bitterness. How far he is away from Hashem, but not, God forbid, that causes atzvus, depression. This meridus stimulates the person to become better. Like it said, they'll scream out Hashem when it's bad for them, when they're being oppressed. What's the primary level of tshuva? Like it says in the pasuk, to you, Hashem, I pick up my soul, to nullify our will to Hashem. There should only be one will to Hashem, with a desire and a longing of the soul, to be beg Hashem, that Hashem should re-rest his shechina on him, to have a bittul ratzon. Okay? So he's saying, just like this, the fire of Kedusha, there's the fire of evil. So what do? You need to do tshuva. What does tshuva do? Tshuva brings you back to where you were before. Okay? He says, it says like this, forgive us. When do you need forgiveness? You do something bad to somebody, you need to ask forgiveness. But if what you did had no consideration to the person, he couldn't care less what you did, so then you don't need to ask forgiveness.
I'm glad to hear that. That's my case all the time.
That's the purpose of mechila. If you didn't, Hashem could care less. It's like, again, a little cockroach or ant on the other side of the world does something wrong to you. No, so big deal, who cares? So he says, so what's the asking mechila? He says the mechila doesn't mean to get forgiveness. It means Hashem should re-reveal his kedusha on us. He says, to ask forgiveness, that what? That Hashem should reveal himself. That it should rest upon us, to cause us, that should be with a proper thing. So what's the mechila? Chel also comes the word chel. It should be, it's chel on him. It should rest upon him, it should affect him. So mechila means Hashem, come back to reveal yourself on us, and that will cause us to serve Hashem with a true heart. Like it says, all the worlds, okay, higher, lowest, from the highest level of ruchnius to the lowest level of gashmias, is like schira achas. Like it says in the Zohar, One thought, Hashem created everything. Shutei fil ma'abed atzev kol hadeiros. Because Hashem, with one look, sees until the end of time. V'keira, there is Merishin, calls all generations from the beginning. Im kain yad ksha'alu enemies, b'machshava li baris. Therefore, as soon as Hashem thought about creating world, what happened? Harikvan nigmer of nishma, but Yosef in front of it was done already. Okay?
When you look at the universe, the beauty of nature, flowers, you see the harmony, the colors, for instance.
No.
Isn't it almost blasphemy to come and say it just happened, just God thought about it and it all came to
No, on the contrary. It would be blasphemy to think. It would be blasphemy if you said it didn't come from God.
No, I'm saying it come from God, but it wasn't like just like this, the way you presented here. It's a lot of thought, a lot of planning, a lot of design went into everything you see.
By you and me, not by him.
I can't imagine this.
Let me ask you a question.
The harmony, the beauty, the equilibrium in nature, that it just happened.
Okay, I got it. Okay. If somebody, let's say, I know it's not shaykh by you. If somebody, let's say, is 1,000 times smarter than you.
Let's say.
No, well, I know you can't. But smarter than me. I have no problem with that. Okay? Because that's not a big deal. Let's say somebody is 1,000 times smarter than me. Yeah. That means what it takes for me 1 minute, 1,000 minutes to think, they think in 1 minute. What it takes me 1,000 minutes. Now, 1 second, yeah? Now let's say somebody is 1,000,000 times smarter than me, not you, can't be. 1,000,000 times smarter than me. So it takes me 1,000,000 hours, take them 1 hour. Yeah, they're 1,000,000 times smarter. Now take somebody who's 1,000,000,000 times smarter than me. Now, as smart as we are, it's finite. Hashem's wisdom is infinite. Okay, now just make a simple cheshbon. Okay? What takes me a zillion years to figure out, Hashem was a zillion times smarter than me, takes 1 second. What's the big deal?
I think what you're saying would be true about solving the complex mathematical formula. But when it came to the beauty of nature, a certain process.
That's why.
Maturity has to be experienced.
Okay. Yes. Very good. But that's what you have to meditate in to realize that by Hashem in 1 second, not even a second, everything happened. Okay, let's go weiter. We see openly that he limited himself with one thought. So why does Hashem do that? Because Hashem is the source of mercy. So therefore Hashem decides to create us. What does it mean? A father, by definition, if you're a father, that means you have a child. That means you bring it down to the child. If not, you're not a father. The Rachem Alayim is to have pity on the world. To make them exist and to make them be created. This is what a person has to meditate. To awaken this mercy on himself. So then, if you think like this, look how great Hashem is. He has such pity on us. He created me and gives us existence. And yet, look what I did. I slingshotted him, which is probably incorrect English. I slingshotted him all the way to the other end of the garbage. So he says, think on yourself, a little menschlichkeit. Look what I'm doing to Hashem. And he says, when when you meditate where you come from, meaning ayin, ma'ayin basa, not where you come from. We come from ayin, which is aver rachamem imkain hayari the sha'ara mir panavis barich, the descent that Hashem came down. G'day lameid is tremendous. Therefore, yismar nafshi made. This will embitter the person a lot. The nogen will touch ad nekudis alev mamish, that he can do tshuva to Hashem.
The challenge is in the second that somebody does the avera, that split second, the meditation.
No, he's saying when a person awakens, ought to do tshuva.
I'm sorry.
At the minute you wake up, well, at the time of sin, you're not doing tshuva. You're not thinking.
There's no meditation in mind.
Right. But that's why you have tshuva, that Hashem allowed us. This is another unbelievable mercy from Hashem's part. I did something, it's done, it's in the history books. Seemingly, I cannot undo it. You did it. Tshuva can undo it. That's also tremendous mercy from Hashem.
Well, that's happening. Why should someone go there to rely on tshuva?
They're not relying on tshuva. When we sin, we're not relying on tshuva.
Right.
No. But he says, what happens when a person, what motivates a person to do tshuva? If you one time you stop and meditate, look at this, look at the world, and Hashem thought about us, and therefore we became created, yeah? And yet, look what I did, I spit in them in the face. Somebody saves your life, and while he's saving your life, you spit him in the face.
How can you implant this concept with someone? Don't go there.
By talking to them, because they have a neshama. It's not working because we don't do it. The Gemara says, Dvarim hayetzim min alev, things that come from the heart, go into the heart and affect. If we talk to somebody and it doesn't work, it's our fault. Nobody's blaming anybody. If it would have been done correctly and the person sees you mean it for their benefit, they will listen. Maybe not this minute, maybe an hour later, maybe a month later, maybe a year later. It will have its impact.
The klipa and the taste of avera is stronger.
And the power of the neshama is even stronger. It is. By day, tshuva me'avera b'kazu. Then zdain is nasala kazachis. Then averis become mitzvahs. How can averis become mitzvahs? Pirush shem shaydei azachis. Because just fix the mitzvahs. Tesal and nafshi be'er Hashem. Your neshama becomes elevated and bound to Hashem. Kach tesal and nafshi. Aydei amiriris hagdei lazais. Because through the bitterness, meaning, how can Averis become mitzvahs? So the Alter Rebbe explains here, and in Tanya, the Alter Rebbe explains, because mitzvah means binding and connection. Sometimes you're bound by doing a mitzvah. Sometimes you're bound by feeling the distance, and feeling bad from the distance. That itself connects you. So therefore, an Aveda could become a mitzvah. The Aveda, the distance, the separation that you did, separating yourself from Hashem, is actually causing you to become closer to Hashem. But that's a lofty level of tshuva. Okay, Dalit. Hashem said to him, Parshas Kisisa, I'm going to put you in the crack. You know, he said, show me your glory. Hashem said, no, but he put him in the crack of the rock. What does it mean, spiritually speaking? Hashem put him in the tzur. Moshe Rabbeinu was in heaven then. What rocks do you have in heaven up there? He says, tzur elyin malka v'sheder kol shashi yisavos. Rock represents the source of everything. Like it says, habit or tzur chutzaftem. Look at the rock that formed you. That carved you. Why is it called sword? Why is the source of everything called sword? He says, like a flintstone, that you hit it, to bring out fire. Okay? What is a tzorah chalamish? A flintstone. It's a source of fire. But when you touch him, it's cold. It's only potential of fire. So the same thing, he's the source of all sources.
So you have to get heat to have something, good spark to come out of it?
Yes. Yeah, I have a stick for you. Because that level of elokus has nothing to do with creation. It's only the potential to be able to have a lower level of elokus through tzimtzum to be able to create a world. That itself is nothing to do with world. It's above infinite and finite. And shemachin is shemavaya. That's infinitely greater than the name of Havaya. Therefore, his sword means even the level of Havaya, which is Eish, Eich Lahu, it's also the potential of it. So Tzur represents, when you say Tzur Chayenu, we say Shemaidim, right? Tzur Yisrael, V'gayalei, not according to Hadith, but there's Tzur Yisrael. What do you mean the Tzur? Why is Hashem called the Tzur? Because it means just like the rock is only the source potentially, but the rock itself has nothing to do with fire. Elokus is the source of world, but he has nothing to do with world.
A simple Jew, because of the part of Shusterman within him, has the potential to reach that level.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about the whole time. Because of the neshama.
But two, you were associated with stability and stability.
God is stable, yeah. God is very stable.
So why are we talking about the spark rather than being so solid?
Because besides being stable, by the way, in a mudslide, the rocks are not so stable. We are stable because we're horses, so we have a stable. We're stable. Hashem's stability doesn't, he's saying it not only means stability, it means he is the source of everything in creation, but it's only in the potential level. Until Hashem lowers himself and limits himself and strikes the rock to want to create the world, it's only in the potential. He says, Tshuva reaches which level of elokus? The elokus that it's so high, even worlds don't exist there. It's a level where infinite, finite world, not world, everything is equal. Right? How do you get fire from the tzur chalamish? What he's saying is like this: when fire extinguishes, how do you get fire? You take the stone and rub it together, yeah? So he says sometimes the fire by the Jew, the neshama, becomes extinguished. Not completely extinguished, diminished, dormanted. But he says sometimes sometimes he gets lost. Why? It's extinguished. Why? Which is true Torah Ma'asim Tevim. Why do you? Because you don't have the fuel. You have no Torah, no Torah Tefillah Tzedakah. You have no Torah Ma'asim Tevim. So therefore, there's no fire. So how do you recreate the fire? You got to go back to the source of fire. By this bitterness within the heart, he doesn't even want time and place. All he wants is elokus. Shabachat sheyatzu son nishmasei, he cried until the neshama left the body. Then machmezem magil b'chin sur l'mayla mayla b'chin savis avayis m'shochas manu mokim. That's above everything. Therefore, it says yatzu paskel shumezumin l'chayel mabah. Right? What happened? Rabbi Elazar ben Dodaya popped out. A voice came out from heaven, said, Rabbi Elazar ben Dodaya is ready for Olam Haba. So the Alter Rebbe asked, Avshalei Torah mitzvahs. The Chayra, it could wipe away the dirt, but you need Gan Eden, you need mitzvahs. He didn't have any positive mitzvahs. The guy was a Rasha. So how did he go to Gan Eden? Okay, the dirt was washed off, but you need mitzvahs, you need an admission ticket. He said, Dvuk Tovek Mekayr V'Shashit Kula. But like all Adam Zeichel is that. Not every person merits that. Rabbi Elazar ben Dodaya did. So in other words, what the Alter Rebbe is basically saying over, what we learned in many other places, that level of tshuva makes the undone done. In other words, to make the done undone, it's possible. You wrote something, you could erase it. You can undo it. But to make the undone done, that's a much more difficult level. And that level of tshuva, the higher level of tshuva, makes the undone done, that even though he didn't do any mitzvahs, all the negativity that he did was transformed into mitzvahs.
Undone are the sins.
No, undone means the mitzvahs he didn't do.
Was his father also?
He didn't do the positive things.
Yes.
Usually when the Gemara or the Mishnah bring Ben someone, it means the father was also family, but the father was also.
Not necessarily. Akiva ben Yosef here, his father was a very simple Jew. Because not everybody gets this, so now we're not married this level, on our own to do it. So we daven Hashivenu Hashem Elecha. Hashem, you start it, v'nashuv, and then we'll come back to you. You know, help us out over here. He says, even though l'chayra, any awakening from above has to come from below, and here we're asking Hashem to do it on His own. That's why we say continue. Chadeshemenu kikedem. What do we say? Hashivenu Hashem Elecha. Hashem, return to us v'nashuva. But the question is, if we don't do it first, how can Hashem come? So we say Chadeshemenu kikedem. Beginning of creation, it was chesed of Hashem. That's what we say Chadeshemenu kikedem. What do you mean chadeh? What's the connection in this pasuk? Hashivenu Hashem Elecha v'nashuva. Hashem, help us do tshuva and we'll return. Make your days like it was a kikadam. So the Alter Rebbe is explaining, because what we're saying is, I have no Torah mitzvahs on my own. I have no fuel. I need your help. Your help is, Hashem's help is dependent. No, Chadi Shemeinu kikadam. Make it like it was the beginning, that it came straight from you. We didn't have to do anything. Okay, we're almost done with the Maimon. What? Yeah.